have Burzine,
journalists from India,
Waghmar
from China,
joining us on
from
this
BRICS
special
nations and
broadcast.
other.
Aditya, please be there also. We'll be talking to you as well. Many thanks, Mr. Waghmar, for talking to Republic TV. How crucial is this going to be when the two heads of the state meet today? I'm talking about Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping, considering that both sides have decided to bury the Doklam standoff. Do you think this is going to be the level next when it comes to Sino-India ties?
Very much so, and I'll tell you why. Doklam is just a recent development which just flared up with a boundary problem with Bhutan. But Kashmir goes back for the last 70 years. Let us not forget that Kashmir is not just an India-Pakistan imbroglio, but it's a three-way problem with Beijing having occupied Aksai Chin and still making claims over parts of historic Ladakh, as it were. And the fact that in 1963, Pakistan ceded to China around 3,000 square miles of the Trans-Karakoram Tract as a gift in perpetuity also should be brought into fact, which is a little known aspect, that Pakistan actually gifted Kashmiri land to Beijing on a platter, yet goes about shedding crocodile tears every year on the 5th of February by annually hosting so-called Kashmir Solidarity Day throughout the world. So, I mean, the hypocrisy and mendacity of Pakistan is for plainly manifest for all to display, despite the fact that it talks about Kashmir on one hand, but it actually went and parceled out what was historic territory of the Kingdom of Kashmir and gave it to Beijing in perpetuity on a platter. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto did that as foreign minister in 1983.
So what happens to the Maulana Mazhur, which is going to be, one of the deliverables on the agenda when the two sides meet? That's going to really take a center stage. What do you think China's position on that is going to be?
Well, China on this matter will blow hot, blow cold. Remember a few years ago on Chinese television, they had a documentary on Bombay 2611. Now, the fact that even in the documentary itself, the Chinese mentioned that Bombay 2611 could be attributed to Kasab and that its brainchild and the genesis of the entire carnage was traceable to Pakistan was an eye-opener in itself. And the Indian media had reported it, if you recall. And even I was personally surprised sitting in London that the Chinese could actually go ahead and do something like that, because all the time they have turned a Nelson's eye to Pakistan and tried to tell the world that no, people misunderstand Pakistan. It doesn't necessarily harbor terrorists. It doesn't manufacture terrorism or proxies, as it were. But even the Chinese deep down really know what the facts are. They can't be that sanguine or gullible about it. Because let's not forget, this is important too. There are occasions in the past when Beijing has demanded that Islamabad hand over Sunni Xinjiang Uyghur Muslim dissidents to it who have been found in Pakistan at terror proxy camps being trained by the ISI and by the so-called Pakistan deep state. And, yes.
That's right, Burzine. Yes. Having said that, we've seen a very strongly worded stance that the BRICS nation have actually taken on terror, although an indirect reference to Pakistan. Do you think this is going to be a sort of isolation of this almost a terror state at the BRICS grouping? Because, all right, without even taking names, but you have the terror outfits like Lashkar, like Jaish, like Al-Qaeda. This is perhaps for the first time in the history of BRICS that these terror organizations have been named.
It is a development in itself, and it is entirely commendable and is long overdue. But again, Beijing blows hot, blows cold, and drags its feet. And you know what happens when India pushes this? Beijing always brings up its standard excuse, we need more evidence, and it tries to buy time like this. But even Beijing must realize that enough is enough, as it were, because it has its own Uyghur Xinjiang problem to deal with. And now, of course, with the CPEC problem, they are pretty annoyed privately with Nawaz Sharif out of the picture as to who does one talk to in a place which is so topsy-turvy and where things are so, awry, as it were, when nobody's in charge. When we just see with the so-called judicial coup, with Sharif being ejected, as it were. They need someone to talk to, and they can't find that in Pakistan.
All right.
And that the quandary which will always plague the Chinese.